No one is more familiar with hand and wrist injuries than professional athletes. So who better to talk about proper technique and equipment than the reigning welterweight champion of the UFC, George St-Pierre. George, welcome to Hand and Wrist TV.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. So I want to ask you about in your career, have you had any major hand injuries?
I've been very fortunate, so I never had a major hand injury. I had some injuries though, but when you're a martial artist and you compete a lot, you try to hide those injuries. You don't want to let people know. So I had some in the past, of course.
As far as taking care of your hands, I mean, to prevent injuries, obviously equipment's an important thing. Tell us about, as far as wrapping the hands, that's very important to a boxer and mixed martial artist. Can you show us how you would wrap your hands before you put the gloves on?
Of course, the idea of wrapping the hand is if you hit, for example, if you want to hit someone with bare hand, you want to maintain the position. You don't want to bend your wrist, of course, because if you bend your wrist, it take away the stability, in your joint, and the impact will not be where you want it. So it increases the rate of injury. So when you wrap your hand, I want to make sure it keep my wrist, it give us support to my wrist for not bending at the moment of the impact. Another thing too is normally what you can put a little bit more padding on the knuckle, so you have also all the padding that you need on the gloves as well. So with all those two things, you make sure that your wrist doesn't bend and it stays straight. So there's many ways to do it. I don't say that my way is the best. That's the way I use it.
Sure.
I've been using it for a very long time, and I'm gonna share it with you.
Great.
So you see this side up. So I start with the thumb here, and I like to go 3 turns on my wrist. 1, you see, 1, 2, and 3. So I go down the wrist a little bit, then I come back 2 turns, going back towards my hand. 1, 2. I like to go around after that around the thumb here, and then after the thumb, I go around the knuckle here, and I keep always another thing, you want to keep a space. You don't want to tie it up wrap your hand when it's closed, because then after the blood it would cut the circulation. So you want to make sure you have your finger are separated as much as you want. So you go around the knuckle 1 time, and what I do now is I'm going back down, and look, I'm gonna go back down on the wrist and come back between the fingers. I'm going between the finger, and when I'm about to go around the wrist, I close my fist, because the pressure is not the same when you keep your hand open and when it's closed. So close my fist, and sometimes you can use an extra band-aid on your knuckle as well. That's what I do too. So you have the bandage, the gloves, and you have an extra padding that you can do, which is not recommend for everybody, but
sure.
I like to do it. So I close, then I go around. So we see now it's tied up by itself because my fist is closed. I open, go around the other space, the other fingers, close. Then a little bit different this way. I open, go between the fingers, close again. Always closing at the end to make it tight.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not too tight. It's not good when it's too tight. You want to let it breathe.
Right.
So now is the finishing now here. I keep my finger very, very open, wide open.
Spread it apart, yeah.
Spread open. I finish around the knuckle here. You see, I can go 1 or 2 turns depending how you like. And I finish after on the wrist here. I can going down on the wrist, you see. 2 and 3. That's how I like it to do. You feel it's very stable. It gives a good support to my wrist. So you can really feel a big difference between my 2 wrists. So if you would try to bend my wrist, this one is very, very easy to bend. A lot more movement, and here it's very stable. I can move it, but it's very stable. So at the moment of the impact, it will keep everything tight.